Welcome to the Cristopolis show. I'm honored today to have Rana Mansour on the show. She is a Persian singer that is amazing. She has performed all over the world, and she hasn't been able to perform in Iran, which is where her heritage is from. And it's challenging because in Iran, women are not allowed to. So she's a voice for the voiceless. We're gonna have her come on now. We're gonna talk about her whole career, from when she started to where she became famous, where she's traveled, and what she's working on now. Hello.
Hello, hello. How you doing, Chris?
Good. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
You look great.
Thank you. So do you.
The piano looks fly.
Fly. See that? Sounds fly too.
So, you're known everywhere, especially in the Persian community, for your music, for your message. In a lot of ways, you've been the voice for the voiceless. We want to capture all of that. You know, I would love to kind of take people on a journey through your musical background. You know, like when you were younger, your training, and then all the way through to when you arrive in LA. So at what age did you start doing music?
I started formal lessons when I was about 5 or 6 years old. But I just always knew I was going to do music, to be honest with you. So for me, it started way before that, way before the age of 6. Like one of my earliest memories ever of being here on Earth is of music, you know, hearing music from the radio the first time and going, wow, that's the most magical sound I've ever heard in my life. And it was like an immediate hook, you know. I was like, I love this thing, whatever this is. These sounds are just, they're doing something to me. And I remember feeling that way. But then I was about like 3 years old and I started picking notes out on my aunt's piano in Pittsburgh.
Really?
My dad, yeah. Like we would just go there for the weekends all the time, and they had a piano, and I just would always go to the piano. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to sit behind the piano and just play. And so my dad was like, "Hey, maybe this is something that, you know,
she wants to pursue." Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then about the age of 6 is when I started formal piano lessons, and then just from there, it just kept, you know, building and growing from there.
Did you come from like a family of musicians, or were you kind of like? So it's you.
Yeah.
Wow.
My dad's a photographer, so.
That's right. He's a creative.
Yes.
He takes amazing pictures.
Yeah, he really does. So he understood, at least I had him to kind of understand a little bit what it's like to be an artist and make a living as one.
Yeah. He knew how to make a living, not in a square job. Like he knew how to be a creative and how to monetize that.
That's right.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you started formal lessons 5, 6, and did you do that like through like your youth?
Yeah, I just always did music whenever and wherever I could. In schools, I would join the choirs. I would join like every band that they had, except for orchestra, obviously, because I can't play a stringed instrument.
Right.
Whatever choir they had, whatever musical theater they had, whatever band. I mean, that's just all I wanted to do. It was my love from the beginning, was to not just learn about music, but performing as well. I really enjoyed performing. I felt I feel more comfortable on the stage.
Yeah.
Than I do off of the stage.
I know what you mean. Like intimate settings are difficult, whereas if you're on a stage, it's kind of like easier. Yeah. That's something that a lot of artists feel, that it's kind of easier to be on stage. Where you're
Some.
Yeah. So you do music, you know, all through school, and then what about like after like college? right? So you went to Berkeley,
Yeah.
and that's
Yes.
like the premier music school in America.
Yes.
What was that?
I mean, it's arguable, but it's the only, what I can say, it's the only music school pretty much in the world where you can study contemporary music, where you're not locked into a classical environment. Because technically what a music school is, it's called a conservatory. So it's not a conservatory. You get a well-rounded education, but it's a music college. So I went there because one of my teachers graduated from there, and I really loved his knowledge of music and his approach to songwriting. Because when I was a teenager, I started getting into songwriting, like a preteen, like 12, 13 years old. I started writing. I started to develop an interest in songwriting. So I changed music teachers around that time, and he was a graduate of Berkeley. So I was like, oh, I love the way the knowledge that he's dropping on me. So I want to go where he learned. And yeah, so I went to Berkeley. I graduated from there. And then after that was the school of life.
The school of hard knocks.
Absolutely. Where you realize, like, oh, okay, you chose this path. There you go.
Yeah.
Here's what comes with it.
You're amazing, but that doesn't mean that it's easy. So after Berkeley, you go to New York for a little bit, right?
Yeah, I moved to New York. Just for those of you who don't know, Berkeley's in Boston. So I was living there while in college. Then I moved to New York. After New York, after getting my butt kicked in New York for a year, I then moved to Austin, Texas.
That's right.
Yeah, because Austin's got a pretty good live music scene too. So I thought, hey, maybe I'll make
even more now, right? Like it's blowing up in Austin too.
In Austin, yeah. Austin didn't work out for me either. It worked out for a lot of people that I went to college with. It just didn't for me. Once I moved to Los Angeles, I think that was when I got introduced to the Persian scene, to the Persian market. And that was when I realized, hey, now I know I can not only make a living doing this, but I can also have some artistic impact as well, where I feel purposeful. It's not just like about me being able to make money doing what I do, but it's about also knowing, hey, I can really add something to this community that isn't already there. And that is what made me feel like, okay, I can have some purpose as well.
Yeah. I think that LA has the largest Persian community in America.
Yeah, that might be debatable, but as far as I know right now, yeah. I think
right, and then DC and LA are the kind of the two big ones.
Yeah.
So, and that's a lot of your world too, right? So it's like you're moving between two major Persian hubs.
Yeah.
You grew up in a Persian household. You speak Farsi.
We're from DC.
Yeah.
So.
We're from DC. Shout out to DMV.
Woo!
And I grew up in DC, so I know a lot about the Persian community, even though I'm Latino, right? But you can't not grow up, in the DC area, in Falls Church area, and not have a Persian friend, an Afghan friend, a Palestinian friend, right? It's a place where those communities are vibrant.
Absolutely.
So you come to LA, and in LA is really where the music that you create and the performances that you've done that have brought you onto a world stage, it kind of happens out of LA.
That's right.
Yeah.
I pretty much all of our Persian pop stars live in LA.
Yeah. Yeah. I got mine too. This
Sorry.
is the Happy Belly. This is the one that's like the extra bubbly.
Happy Belly?
Yes, it's this is the bomb one. So you've traveled all over the world, and especially in large kind of like Persian hubs. So you've performed everywhere, but there's a large Persian presence in Europe, right? In Sweden, in Germany, in Berlin, in Canada, right? In Toronto, Vancouver, and then abroad also like in Turkey and other places. Yeah, Dubai.
Australia is another big one too.
Australia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And essentially because you do music in English also, which is you're fascinating because you have a whole career in the Persian market. You speak Persian, you speak Farsi, um, but you went to Berkeley and write amazing songs in English also.
Oh,
Um,
I can't wait to start releasing those.
yeah, I think a lot of people would love to hear that, and I think you know, um, creatively, I can speak like as an artist. You know, I'm Latino, but my Latino-ness works its way even into my English-speaking music, right? So I imagine that your culture and the music that you've done and that you've released and that the world knows you for, even when you do English stuff, the way you sing, your vocal cadence, some of the melodies, some of that Persian influence is going to be in your American music also, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what's happening, hopefully I can do that. Hopefully I can come up with something that's like, a good mix between East and West. But I think ultimately, artists, it's impossible for us not to be influenced by, because we just absorb all this stuff that's going on around us, and we're able to absorb all that and then channel that back into our art. And since each one of us has our own very, very unique life experiences, so beautiful to listen to so many different works of art. Like when I listen to your music, Cristopolis, I can hear, I can hear how you've been influenced, not just by your culture, but also like your life experiences,
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. So you're in LA. What are you working on?
I'm I'm here for a short 10 days, and I'm recording 5 songs in 10 days. So
That's a lot.
it is actually, I don't think people realize how people who aren't musicians and people who aren't artists doing it professionally. I personally I believe everybody's an artist, but people who don't pursue it professionally don't realize how much goes into what we do. And especially if you care about what you do, and especially if you're like a perfectionist and you want to be professional, you want to always do the best, it will take things out of you. It takes a toll on your physical body. It takes a toll on your mental health, all the traveling, all the stuff that you do. So with every song that I sing and record in the studio, I will literally put myself in a position where those words, that melody is, even if I didn't write the song, because some of the songs that I record I haven't written.
Right.
Like for example, 5 of the songs that I'm recording here, not one of them is an original one of mine. I mean, they're original productions. I'm involved in the production. I'm involved in the creative process of it. But these are all written by people who are living in Iran.
Got it.
And so I will put myself, and I try to choose songs that I can relate to personally with what they're saying, so that I can channel what they were feeling and thinking when they wrote it. And that kind of channeling, you gotta work at it internally, and then to put it out when you record it. So it's a euphoric, it's an amazing process and experience. And so to do 5 of those in 10 days is a challenge I've never taken on before, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. And also you've got to interpret it, right? So like you get the song, but then you have to actually record your interpretation of the song.
That's correct. Yeah.
So that's the part I think I know in hip hop, when people get songs written, they have a track that kind of shows the way that the writer thought it would go, but then how the end product is always very different. Do they do that also in your type of music, where there's hey, this is kind of where the pauses and the breaks were, or is it more like they send the melody, they send the lyrics, and then you just go?
Yeah, it's more like that.
Interesting.
I don't have access to people in Iran as easily, so I wish it could be more of a process of us sitting and writing the songs together, but and doing stuff like that. But yeah, it's more them sending it and me making it my own.
Got it. So it's almost like they send you what would seem almost like a poem, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the lyrics, and you read the lyrics, and you're like, wow, these are beautiful words. And then you've got to actually take that and put that to music.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So it's a major interpretation.
Yeah, it is. And it's but I'm working with an amazing team of people.
Yeah.
You know, that has a lot to do with it. It's community and teams, and like your tribe has so much to do with what we do. You can't do it all yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You find people who are like-minded and you collaborate and you do it all together. It's a collaborative effort.
100%. They make you better. They challenge you. They make you go back in the booth and do it again.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like in regards to like your last like recordings that like people listen to, like your most recent stuff, when did that come out? When it was like your most recent releases?
You know, the last thing that I released that ended up doing really, really well, it took me from one place in my career, and then it was a big spike. It was a spike for me, was when a guy living in Iran, his name is Shervin Hajipur, and he actually recently won a Grammy for a song that he wrote that became the song of all the protests and the stuff that's going on in Iran right now. He wrote a song that was composed of actual tweets of people living inside of Iran and their day-to-day experiences, their day-to-day pain that they had to suffer, that they have to suffer. It's like people would tweet stuff like, oh God, another old man that I had to see like starving on the side of the road. Oh no, another dog who's being abused and beaten. And because in Iran, dogs are considered like dirty religiously. They're just abused. They're treated horribly. I mean, Iran is I've never been there, but from what I've seen and heard from other people. So this song was composed of actual tweets of Iranians living inside Iran. He wrote a melody to their tweets and their words. He made a lyric out of it, and this song just blew up, like probably the only Persian international crossover hit that I can think of ever.
And I remember it, like I remember seeing and hearing about what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that hit the mainstream. It went viral.
It went viral. Grammy for this past year, this year, and so I translated it into English so that the rest of the world could understand it, and I had no idea how well that was going to do. It did really well. That got me on The Voice in Germany. That got me in the White House. That got me.
Remember that when you were on The Voice.
That got me like Trudeau coming in and like. Listen, this is regardless of your political beliefs. I'm still proud of the fact that he and I were able to do that together.
Yeah.
And I've never even met him once before in my life.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we proved the Islamic regime wrong. We proved them wrong because male artists in Iran cannot work with women. I have been in the Persian market for over 20 years, and not once can a male artist in Iran ever share on his Instagram story anything that I do. So that is like, and it's a male-dominated market over there. So
right.
The government is like putting all these restrictions, and with what we were able to do together, a man and a woman together, and cross over like that, we basically told them, hey, screw you and any law that you try to pass about how artists can do this, you can't do that, women can do this, and women can't do that. No, you can't, because there are Iranians who are living outside of Iran that you have no control over, and we're not going to stop being active and doing what we're going to do. We're not going to stop talking against what you're doing over there. We're going to make it public. So, yeah, for me, it was more of like a, damn, we proved them wrong. And yeah, so that really helped a lot. And I owe him a lot. And I just hope one day I get to meet him. I sent him a message on Instagram. We're like following each other on
That is
Instagram.
the coolest.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's one of the, well, one, I mean, just what's happening in Iran and the fact that you guys were able to collaborate like that is amazing. This time period that we live in, where you can connect with somebody on the other side of the world that you've never met in person, create art, and then that art, you know, actually reaches so many people. That's just an amazing reality in which we live in.
It was.
But if people who haven't heard the song, or maybe haven't heard his or your version of it, what is it called? What can they search on YouTube to find it?
His is called Baraye, Baraye. So the original version, which is in Farsi. Mine is called For Woman, Life, Liberty. And I don't know if you guys have been seeing like the hashtag Women Life Freedom.
Yeah, the t-shirts.
Yeah.
T-shirts. I'm downtown LA. I see the marches.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Azadi in Farsi means freedom. So I wanted to rhyme because he ends the song, he says Baraye Azadi, which means for freedom. And so I chose the word liberty instead of freedom because it rhymes with Azadi. I'm still going with the Women Life Liberty hashtag, but other people are Woman Life Freedom. Yeah, so if they want to go and check it out, it's called For Woman Life Liberty.
That's awesome. So that came out about how long ago?
Well, these protests, I guess he wrote the protest started when a girl by the name of Mahsa Amini, she was basically murdered for not wearing her hijab properly.
Right.
And so that just sparked, that was like, you know what, we're not taking it anymore. People took to the streets and they were like, you're not going to do this to us anymore.
Yeah.
That happened back in September. I think that his version came out in like October, maybe about a month into into the protest. And then as soon as his went viral, that was when I got to work. And I was like, I gotta take advantage of this now.
Right.
And yeah, so probably around like October and that.
Yeah, it was the perfect moment to use platforms to you know, as a Persian woman, say, hey, let me do an interpretation of this, because in your case, like, I'm a woman, and we're the ones, you know, women, I mean, everybody's affected, the whole society in Iran, but women are really getting the short end of the stick, right?
Yeah.
So
the beautiful thing about his version in Farsi was that it really included men as well, and also other parts of Iran that I'm not so familiar with. So when I came out with my version, I had to leave some of his parts out in order to make it an American version of it. And I think that was something that upset a lot of people.
Got it. I
got a lot of mixed reviews. Like, even though I got a lot of success from that, I also got a lot of mixed feedback. That was another thing that was interesting for me, was I didn't realize how much it would trigger people.
Got it.
And that's part of what we do.
You know, I think one of the hard things with being an artist is that, like, you make art, you know, and it's you know, and you didn't make you translated it, but you weren't making a translated script. You were creating a new piece of art based off of this other piece of art, but from a woman's point of view, and from a Persian American, right? Who's had experiences, who's been to college, who wears her hair however she likes, who is a woman that is empowered and successful, has her own money, has her own everything, her own identity. That's who you are. So then you took something else and you made your interpretation of it, you know, and so it's art. It's art. It's not, you didn't translate what he did. You took it as a foundation and made your version of it.
Yes, and that is something that I think Iranians, Persians in general, are still struggling to accept and understand. It's very hard for them to from what I've experienced, and I absolutely love my people, I love my culture, but never having been there and having been born in America, I'm able to see things about the culture from my own perspective, because it's different than American culture, right? So I feel that Persians have a hard time with accepting change and accepting these these adaptations of something that already exists. So even before the song For Woman, Life, Liberty, what I did earlier on in my career, in addition to releasing my own original material, was what I would do is I would take like really old Persian covers, or like pop covers, and just like totally redo the arrangements or like redo it and just do it in a different style. And that was, but this is what I want to remind. The Western culture seems to be more accepting of that mentality. Whereas like the Persian culture, we're still working on that. And I want to, as an artist, I want to show Iranians that, first of all, because they would come and tell me, you had no right to do that. You had no right to take such and such a song and ruin it. You ruined it. A lot of, but some people will be like, it's great, I love it, you're doing something new and doing something fresh and different. Art, first of all, is public property. Like, it is open to interpretation. Anyone legally has the right, if a song has already been released, and this is something that you know a lot about as well, and we've had this conversation. So I'm so happy that we have this podcast, because I want to talk about these things that I can never talk about on Persian radio stations, on Persian television stations, on any of them. We're not there yet, but if I have a conversation with you about it, at least now I have some content, and when I translate all of this and I put it in Farsi, the information will be out there for the people to know, hey, you as an artist have every right to recreate something if it draws you, and all you're doing is keeping that original version alive. And so
no, I can relate a lot, because hip hop, especially in the beginning, is sample based music, right? So they would take something like a real famous one that like a lot of people would know is Vanilla Ice sampling Queen for Ice Ice Baby, right? And then people would hear that and be like, well, that's Queen. And for the generation that started hip hop, that whole generation, it didn't matter that it was Queen. Now for the generation before it, it's somehow, that's not right, or it was new, right? The whole concept of sampling. But what, in this case, we're talking, a very pop song, it's like a pop song within hip hop, Ice Ice Baby. They sampled another pop song and they created a whole new thing that, back in the late 80s, early 90s was a major hit. Now, all of hip hop, from especially the stuff, my favorite stuff, is dusty old records where they found some loop and they chopped it up and they made something completely new out of it. And that sounds, to me, for my liking, better than something that somebody created on Fruity Loops, or they played on a Triton and, they created it, which is beautiful music still, right? You've got producers like Timberland from Virginia who, like, they make really dope beats on keyboards, but the old sound of sampling records and finding little loops that they flip into something new is spectacular. So hip hop has been dealing with this kind of backlash of people upset about a song that they really like being kind of turned into something else. You're not even doing that. You're basically taking older songs and, in a sense, modernizing them and giving your interpretation. It's phenomenal. In my opinion, and I guess time will tell, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you won't be the only person doing that. And you'll have been on the cutting edge. You will have been vanguard, right? Doing what you've seen done, like maybe here, and what you saw at the Berklee School of Music, and what you've seen in, mainstream American culture, but you just went to a very rich culture, which Persian culture is incredibly rich. I mean, you're talking about the cradle of civilization, right? So they have such history, such culture, such music, that after the Islamic Revolution, right, and what is it, the 70s, kind of like the world loses contact with a lot of that rich culture and their music and their songs. So for somebody who speaks the language, is an amazing singer, is an amazing composer, knows the who's who, not only in LA, but all over the world and within the Persian community, to take little jewels and to modernize them, I think that's spectacular. And 20 years from now, it'd be the most normal thing, but maybe you were the first or one of the first. So you get congratulations, you get the backlash.
No, they didn't, having been born in America, as we talked, it gave me a certain level of confidence that made me go, okay, well, I'm going to do this because I like it, because I like it. But having that edge, so having that advantage, so a lot of maybe other Persian artists might have had the idea, but they might have said, no, if I do it, I'm going to get a lot of crap about it, and I just don't want to go there. So yeah, I'm going to take a moment and like pat myself on the back.
Well, yeah, I think something just came to me that I think is worth saying, right? And this is for all creatives.
Yes.
You do not need anybody's permission to manifest the vision that you have in your heart, that it comes to you in your mind, the art that you want to create. You don't need anybody's permission to do that. Do you? There's only one you. There will only ever be one you.
That's exactly.
So good for you.
Well, I mean, I think I only just we had a conversation in the car before we had this live, and we were talking about how the whole point of being an artist is to try to be as authentic as you possibly can. And I think that I've had a certain level of life experiences that have been so difficult emotionally, where it just got me to the point where I said, why am I hurting myself for someone else's behavior, someone else's opinions? First of all, other people's opinions are not our business. They're not our business at all. We put on this earth to do the thing that we do best, and that is to be ourselves in our authenticity as much as we possibly can. And I really hope I can continue to educate Iranian women who want to become artists and who want to pursue this profession. I want to help them get that level of confidence, get to that point where they can say, you know what, to hell with what you think about what I want to do. So it's not just the government that's oppressed these women. Because of the external oppression, it's happening inside as well, and internally as well. I mean, we all do it bad enough. It's even worse when the government is on you and saying, oh, you can't do this, and you can't do this, and you can't do, you basically cannot, so it's even worse. But I hope that I'll continue to be an example. And again, thank you for this platform, Chris, where I can be myself.
Yeah.
I want to repeat, me doing Persian interviews, because a lot of my Persian fans have really only seen my Persian interviews, and it is so hard to talk in a language that is, and from the bottom of your soul, about topics that are important to you in a language that's not your mother tongue. Yeah, it's very, very difficult to do. No. So I've never been able to get it out, and I feel like right now I'm getting it out, and you're helping me do that, and I just really hope that yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. Like I speak Spanish, but my Spanish isn't as good. It's not as good looking as my English, So it's like I can hang out, talk, go do whatever I need to do in Latin America or in a Spanish speaking environment, but my vocabulary is not as robust, right? The way that I express myself is not as clear and nuanced, as it is in English. Yes. So to be on TV and to be dealing with difficult topics and to be challenged and maybe in your case attacked a little bit as to what you can, can't, should, shouldn't, and to have to defend yourself in the language of your parents and the language of your culture, but not the language that you necessarily speak every day in the United States. Right. That makes it harder. Yeah, it really does. It really does. But it feels good to be able to talk about it. Yeah. Good. So you're working on I'm working on the new song.
Yeah, you're working on some stuff here.
Yeah.
Um, is there like, like if people listening, people who listen to this when it's recorded afterwards and, it's just sitting there and they kind of come across it, do you know when it's coming out, where it's coming out, how that's going to work? Or is it something that's still kind of like in the, you know?
3 out of the 5 songs should be released by summertime.
Oh, cool.
And they're nice like pop summer hits.
Oh,
so I'm really excited about that because I've spent some time like on the like human rights political side of things.
sure, because of what happened, right? It's something that happened, and as a Persian, you reacted.
That, well, also, I mean, even before this revolution happened, I did release some. I was one of the first, if not the first, like Persian female singers to like release a song about like the women empowerment movement. So that I did that like 4 years ago or something like that. So this was people know me as
Sure.
Kind of somebody
An
who,
outspoken woman.
yeah. I'm gonna be more outspoken actually.
Good. Do you? There's only one you. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for giving me this chance to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So now I'm just at these 3 songs, the 3 that are going to be released by summertime. They're really fun. They're funky. They're just like, they're feel good. And it's kind of in the mood that I'm in a little bit. I was like getting a little too intense for me too. So I was doing it for myself. I'm really just doing it for myself. I hope that they like it. I hope that the crowd will like it. And then also, in addition to that, I started a record label. Actually, that was something else that I wanted to talk
about that.
Yeah, it's called Zan Music Inc. Zan means woman in Farsi. And it's a label that's going to be dedicated to men and women, but primarily to Persian female artists. We don't have a proper record label in the Persian market. We really don't.
It gives them a safe place.
And I've told these labels that, and a lot of them don't like me because of that, but I'm sorry. Like, I went to one of the best music schools in the country. I've been doing this since I was a little kid, and I'm going to be taken seriously doing this, and I'm going to show you how it's done. It's a lot of like labels in the Persian market, in my opinion. They treat artists like they're used cars. It's like a used car dealership. It's like some random business, like rich guy who wanted to like and like rip artists off, and I'm not about that, I'm not about that at all. Like, that's artists work hard and go through. Yeah, Chris, I've known you for 20 years. We've seen each other's ups and downs.
Yes. Yeah.
And we have seen how difficult it can be to consistently put yourself out there on a daily basis, on a regular basis. Your family's coming at you. You're the people online now with social media, like everything's in.
I know.
Yeah. So, but it's good. It's made us stronger. Again, like going back to the conversation of being as authentic as you possibly can be. It's kind of in a way like freeing. It's liberating. You're like, I can do whatever I want, and I don't have to care about what this person says or how it triggers them. That's their problem. Let them deal with it.
You can create your art.
That's right.
You can create your art. You can make the best art that you have inside of you. And it shouldn't matter if you're a woman. It shouldn't matter if you're a man. You're a human being. You're a creative. This is what you're bringing to the world.
Yeah.
And it should be you. And I think that the record label is a phenomenal idea because Persian women need a safe place to create and to have their vision and their interpretation of whatever that it is that they're working on come out the way that they want it to come out.
Absolutely.
But that's amazing that you're empowering women, and men, right? Because I mean, ultimately, like, but what you're saying is something really specific, which is women don't have that safe space right now, and you're creating it.
Exactly. If the current record labels that we have, again, if you want to call them that, if they were doing that for women, then I'd be like, okay, but they're too much dictated by the culture and all the political stuff that's happening, when in fact, if you're a platform and if you're a label, it is your job to, exactly as you said, to create that safe space for that artist to flourish in every possible sense. And not everything's about money, you know?
No,
Not everything.
about the art.
Like,
The money is secondary.
absolutely.
Yeah, the money comes and goes. We don't. It's just they print as much of it as they want. It's like, you know, it's like one of those things where it's like the art, to listen to something today that was created. We were playing Fleetwood Mac records earlier. That record's 40 years old. That
Yeah.
that what value does that have? Remove that from humanity. That's a sad place.
Absolutely.
You know, life without music is a sad place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something outside and beyond. The value of it. How do you put a price tag on that? The value of art, you know, is a thing that it's hard to quantify. You know, so okay, so awesome. So you've got these 3 songs coming out this summer. You said I could do math though. You said you were recording 5.
Yeah. There's 2 that are again more on the political side of things. So we're gonna kind of hold. It's just a funny temperature. It's a funny climate right now.
Sure.
Like Persian artists, when this, you know, first there was the pandemic, which affected all of us, all artists, all musicians, right? And then when the revolution happened back in September, all the concerts got shut down because then there was this whole stigma like we can't perform while people are dying in Iran, which is absolutely true. So, and I was respecting that. We were all respecting that as well. But at some point, it's artists have to make a living, and there's a time for being active and doing as much as you can for your community, and there's a time for taking that moment for yourself, for your mental health, for your emotional health. And I for me, it was getting to the point where, like, okay, after doing all this political stuff and being involved in that, it was taking a toll on my mental health, because it's such a sensitive topic, as it should be. And that was when I was like, I'm gonna take a step back, because this is like the triggers were like coming at me from all kinds of directions of like, how dare you go to the White House and hire, and whatever, stupid. So I was like, well, I'm gonna.
You can't make everybody happy all the time.
No, you can't. And I wish that I could take away. I wish that I could single-handedly take away all the pain that was going on in Iran. I can't. I'm another human being, and I cannot. I have a career to think about, and I have to be very strategic about it. I have to be very careful about what I do, because I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
That's right.
And it's very strategic. I mean, you got to be careful. You have to be careful. So it's a play. It's a play, and if especially when you want to do this professionally. So, but anyway, but the record label is something I'm really excited about. I'm really passionate about. There's so much fresh, hot Persian female talent out there right now, Chris. I mean, this revolution has like, it's
so in LA, in America, or like internationally, like in Europe.
Internationally, like this one girl. Her name is Sabah. She was like arrested in Iran for singing, and she left Iran, and then she's like active now, and she's doing her thing, and she's like the Persian Aretha Franklin.
Wow.
I mean, she's got some pipes on her. This is like, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful time that they're coming out of the shadows and they're expressing themselves. And I would love to create a space for them, as you said, where I'm an option as well. If you feel that what my life experience is, if you feel that I have something to offer for you, hey,
let's work.
Yeah.
That is awesome, and it makes sense because if a woman is a singer, because I mean, think of top 20 radio in America right now, and remove all females from that. It's like probably much more than even half the list. So in Iran right now, if you're a woman and you're a singer, you can't you can't record, you can't release a song.
They can, but with a lot of difficulty. A lot of difficulty, like a lot, to the point where it would discourage anybody from.
Got it. And then it's dangerous also.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these girls have gone to jail. I mean, I when I did LA Fashion Week, there was another girl, and I invited her up and to sing the Woman Empowerment song together. She went to jail for wanting to, you know, for singing, and as that's something I've never had to face.
Yeah. Yeah, we've had adversity in life, but that's a whole different type of adversity.
A whole different type of adversity. And I have so much respect for these women, and I just, whatever I can do, if they feel that I can benefit them in any way, then I'd like to give them.
Growing up in the DC area and having so many like Persian friends, I've seen pictures of Iran. I've seen pictures of Tehran. It's absolutely beautiful. Geographically, it's absolutely beautiful. There's this guy that I follow, crazy, super interesting guy. His name's Drew Binsky, a little American guy.
Okay.
And he did a study abroad when he was in college, and he got the travel bug. So when he was there, he went to Europe. The countries were kind of close, so he did like that Euro pass on the train, and he did like 14 countries. And then he just got the travel bug. He's been to every country in the world. And he's been to many countries multiple times, but he's been to every country in the world. And now he basically used social media and YouTube and Instagram and has turned this into his full-time thing. So he does these cool little videos, and he rates, you know, most awesome city, most awesome country, friendliest people, most dangerous places. He has all these little, and he's great. This dude, if he's not already, he's gonna be on the Travel Channel. The #1 country in the world that he says is the most beautiful, his favorite with the nicest people, is Iran. And he's an American white guy with red hair, and he, you know, travels. He has the courage to travel. He has the experience on how to maneuver through visas, passports, airports, currency exchanges. He knows how to do all that. And he's gone to Iran, and then he's gone back, and he's gone back, and he's gone back, and he loves it. So you've got basically, in a sense, and I think that this happens in a lot of countries with strong, you know, governments that are kind of controlling things. You've got the government, and you have the political structure, and maybe what, you know, a lot of times they control media also. And then you have the actual land and the geographic beauty and the people and the culture and the food and the music and the heritage, right? Absolutely. And everybody, not just Persians, that talks about Iran, talks about how amazing it is, how beautiful it is, how amazing the food is. I've had Persian food. It's good. Amazing. It's the best, right? How beautiful the people.
I'm hungry now.
I know, right? It's like lunch. It's like it's early dinner. But the people are so beautiful, and it's one of those things where I think that even people like myself, you know, Latino kid from Falls Church, Virginia, you know what I'm saying? Like, we all want the best for Iran and for Persian people everywhere. It's a very challenging situation, you know. Hopefully it doesn't have to get too much worse before it gets better. But I think that the people are ready for change. You know, you see it.
It seems like that to me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that to me as well. We're still working on some stuff.
Yeah.
I think as a humanity as a whole, we're still working through stuff.
Yeah.
I can see that Iranians are still working through some things, but definitely the events that happened in September when Mahsa Amini was killed.
Yes.
I haven't seen our community make this much of a jump towards wanting to make things better. It really, unfortunately, that poor young woman and her family had to make that sacrifice, and many other women.
Well, the people that came after, right? Because it's just kept, like, you know, people started protesting and it just kept
and Yeah, and because of the lives that are being lost, it does make people very sensitive and very, very naturally, very, very sensitive, myself included.
Yeah.
It makes me sad, obviously. So, but we got to learn as a community to stick together and acceptance is a big one. You need to accept your neighbor's opinions, that they're going to be different than yours. You have got to learn to accept that. You need to learn to accept that another human being thinks differently than you do. And that's very, it's something that I've noticed that I hope that Persians continue to work on that. You cannot change anyone. You can't make them think the way you think. You just can't do it, and you shouldn't.
Yeah.
That's what makes us, as you said, unique. And I think if we could learn to accept each other for our differences, we could go really far.
Yeah.
We could really show the world who we are, not only as a people, but that we would add light to the world. I mean, that's ultimately what we're here to do. We gotta add light to the world.
Yeah.
We've got to be on the side of love.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this thing that we're doing, it's not gonna work. We really, really have to. There's arguments. There's gonna be disagreements, but yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Heather, my wife, told me this the other day. She said, we are here so that we can realize ourselves.
Heather always.
Whatever that is to you, to the next person, and that's nobody else's business, right?
She's our guardian angel, Chris.
That's right. So,
Heather's
you're in LA. You're working on these 5 new tracks. You're releasing 3 this summer. You've got another 2 that, when the moment is right, those will come out. We talked about your new record label that is basically, like, if you translate it, it's called like woman
music, woman music.
Yeah, which is a dope name. It's a dope name. Zan Music. Did I say it right? Zan Music. Yeah. And so, we put it out there, like, if there's anybody listening now, or if there's anybody who knows somebody who is a female who sings in Farsi, who's Persian, and would love to do some music and work with a very, very talented, not only musician, but business-minded woman. We've got Rana here doing that. Hit her with a DM. Because the record label's awesome. In regards to, like, another full-length album for Rana, the beautiful music videos that you've done, when can the public, your public, when can they hope, for, like, the next full-length Rana
record?
Or a new full-length from you? Have you thought about, because you're working on stuff now, you're always writing, you're always performing, you're always practicing, right? Have you thought about that? And I think the question that, at least, because you have 2 markets, right? You have kind of like the Farsi market, but then you also have the American market. And there's a lot of people that have heard you sing in English, have heard your music in English. Is the next full length an English, or is it like an English with Farsi? Have you thought about these things?
Yes. I haven't actually thought about an album in a while.
Yeah.
Which is kind of strange, because that's what typically people expect, right? That we just keep putting albums out. People need to understand that what we do is very costly.
Yeah.
Right? It's an expensive career.
Sure.
It can be very lucrative, but just as much as you make, you got to put back into what you do, especially if you're an independent artist like we are. We're not signed to a label. We do everything independently. So, like, whatever money I make from my tours and stuff, that goes back into my song projects. It's just like a cycle of, like, touring, making money, and then putting it back into, like, a song. I would love to actually, if I spend that kind of time, because you know how much time it takes to put into an album. It takes a lot of time. So if I have that kind of time, I'd love to put out an English record.
Okay.
I've got a couple English songs
I've
that
heard
are
your songs. I'm like, where is this? How is the world not listening
yeah,
to this?
they're coming. The song that I translated for the guy Shervin who won the Grammy,
Mhm.
that helped me get out of the Persian market. That helped me cross over just
Right, it's like a crossover.
yeah, that helped me cross over just enough to say, hey, okay, I have a little toe now in the non-Persian market.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go for it. And if I'm making my own money, why not put it into something that I'm really passionate about, I'm really excited about? So there are also a couple English songs that I'm gonna release later this year.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. One of them's about global warming.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're in California. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. And then the other one's about women making money. So
that's important.
yeah. But like in a really fun way. Like it's like a clubby. I gotta play it for you. I'll play it for you.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad that you're doing some stuff in English too. Your music is incredible.
Cheers, Chris.
Yeah, your music's incredible. I think I've heard stuff. I think there's stuff that people need to hear, you know, and that people even, and it's funny because English is one of those things where, like, you know, I'll go to Chile and they listen to American songs also, right? So it's like English is one of those languages that has been accepted as the language of the internet, you know, the language of, you know, the common language that everybody speaks. And so I think that even people who are used to you in Farsi would very much still appreciate your new original material in English. So I can't wait to hear that. I think, yeah, it's going to be dope. You know, that's cool. Are there any other future plans that you have, things that you want to do, things that, you know, you have in your mind, and when the moment is right, you're gonna try those different types of things? Because you've talked about a lot of really cool things you got going on.
Yeah, I think this record label will help with that.
Yeah.
You and I, Chris, I mean, ultimately, like, we have a lot of things in common. One of the things that we have in common is that we both like to perform.
Yeah.
Another thing that we have in common is that we really love to feel like we're helping the community out.
100%.
We, you know, a lot of times people might mistake our energy for like a self-serving kind of a thing.
Yeah.
When in fact, those who really know us and who know us on a deeper level, they know that ultimately what we want to do is help and give back.
Yeah.
You love giving. Like, you're such a generous person. And
thank you.
Whatever you get for yourself, you will give that back. And I think that that's the thing that people maybe have a hard time understanding, is that we're comfortable giving to ourselves, and we will do that. And it might get misconstrued as something else, but ultimately what I want to do, what you want to do, what you are doing is give something back to the community. So there's a lot that I really hope I can do with the record label, ultimately. I love to perform, and I would love to always continue to do that for the rest of my life. But ultimately what I want to do is create that platform, do something someone's never done before, and to put in the resources and the knowledge, not just like the financial reasons, but also the education and the experience to make that happen and to build. I don't want to give too much away right now.
Give it away, girl. Give it away. Let them know. So I would say this. I have two questions.
There's a lot I want to do with that. That'll lead to a lot of other things.
So 2 questions. I guess the first one is, for you as a performer, and this may be the same contact, but for you as a performer, or for like the record label, if people want to contact you to hire you, if people want to start that conversation to collaborate with you, or if there's a talent out there and they want to contact you and they want to say, hey, check out my demo, check out my interpretation of this song. Do you think am I somebody you'd want to work with? how do they contact you? What's kind of like the best way?
DM me. I check all my messages. I check my emails. I check all of that. I'm on it every single day. I check all of your guys' messages. If I don't respond, it's because I couldn't, or I'm just not able to. You know, it's not relevant to what I need to do right now. But you just DM me. Just send a DM and on like Instagram. Yeah, and they can.
That'll get the ball rolling.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
into Farsi.
Yeah, right. We'll work on that. We'll get it so that it's there in Farsi, and you'll have this because when it's all done, I tag you in it and it shows up, and then from there you'll be able to run with it.
Do you mind if I say something in Farsi real quick? Because I'm
yeah.
Some people that are joining, and I read like a couple comments that are saying, "What are you saying? We don't understand." So دوستان عزیز که الان دارین جوین میشین به لایو و این لایو رو میبینین و از اول دیدین، من میدونم که همش انگلیسی صحبت کردم، ولی این پادکست رو ما این لایو رو ما سیوش میکنیم و ترجمهش میکنم به فارسی و بتونیم بیشتر بعداً بیاین ببینیم و قشنگ بفهمیم که چه حرفایی زدیم امروز. So just hang in there. من حتما یه ورژن فارسی از این لایو ریلیس میکنم براتون که بتونیم ببینیم.
That's cool.
Thanks for letting me say that there real quick.
Do you want to take any questions? We had talked about that also.
You know what? I think because this is mostly in English, probably. I'll say that. Let me say.
Somebody may want to maybe just a few, right?
Someone just said Rana make the food فسنجون for him. So someone wants me to make you فسنجون. بابا من اصلا برای خودم هم نمیتونم فسنجون درست کنم. من چجوری برای ایشون فسنجون درست کنم آخه؟
What does that mean?
He asked me to make like a Persian dish for you. Yeah.
I'm down.
That I cannot make. It's like really, really hard, but it's delicious. We can go to a restaurant and order that. We can order
Let's
that.
do that.
ولی دوستان عزیز اگر سوالی داشتین، میدونم که خیلی شاید خیلیتون متوجه نشون این حرفایی که زدیم امروز، ولی اگر سوالی داشتین میتونین همینجا بپرسین و من یه زمانی میتونم بذارم که سوالاتون رو جواب بدم. اگر چیزی هست که میخواین که someone's saying hi to you. Are you reading the comments, yeah. Chris? Can you read the comments?
I can see it all here, but I don't know what to say.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like no one's really got too many questions. So, we'll
check something that pops up, and then feel free to jump in. I did have one more question for you. So you got your label. You're in LA right now. You're recording new music. Is there somebody that you haven't worked with that you do want to work with, that you'd love to work with them? Or maybe it's multiple somebodies. Maybe there's musicians, vocalists, some young talent you saw somewhere and you're like, I would love to sign her. Give these people a shout out and tell people to tell that person that you said that. You know what I'm saying? Let's get the word out that you're working, you're in LA, you're recording, you've got a label, and let's make this happen.
Absolutely. Oh, we have a question. Did regime threaten you because of all the songs? Oh, did the regime threaten me because of the songs? No, I have not gotten any. I haven't gotten any threats. Nothing directly. If anything, they've tried to they stopped my Instagram account at one point. They do other stuff, but they'll again, like the thing that I mentioned before, that they won't allow me to collaborate with anyone over there. I certainly can't go to Iran. It's not somewhere I can go. So in that sense, it has affected me, but not in this. I haven't gotten any death threats or anything like that. Nothing like that. But that's an interesting question. Okay. What you were saying? Oh yeah. So a lot of these girls you were saying to throw some names.
Yeah, there's probably people that you like. So for instance, if you said it to me with hip hop, and I would be like, yeah, I would love to work with this producer, this DJ, and these two rappers. That would be my dream come true. Anybody who knows somebody that could try to kind of get that word out, make it happen. You know, you're plugged into the community. You're in LA. You're working with musicians in LA. You tour around the world. You've worked with musicians, world-class musicians, and world-class Persian musicians around the world. And there's probably people that you would love to work with, but it just quite hasn't happened yet.
I don't ever.
You know, is there somebody on that list?
Yeah, there are a lot of people on that list, but I don't know if that'll ever happen because of what's happening politically.
Yeah.
You know, there's too much fear.
Yeah.
And fear is going to take some time.
Tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to take some time. I mean, maybe in 20 years, but I don't see that. Like, I've got a long list of people I would love to work with. Like,
any singers that you find? Any singers though have like on your label that's like, hey, if you're interested,
right.
And here
focusing on women.
Yeah.
And they don't have the numbers yet to compete with the guys.
Yeah.
So a lot of people wouldn't even know who they are. Yeah. So I don't want to mention their names right now. I'd like to wait because I already have a list.
You're making moves. You're making moves.
Yeah. I don't want to throw too many of my observations out there yet. I'd like to share that like a little bit later on down the road, but there's a lot of female talent.
I imagine, and probably not only just in Iran, but like all the Persian communities
outside.
Yeah,
outside, and they need a platform.
That's awesome. I think that's spectacular. Where's the best place for people to find you online?
I'm more active on Instagram than anywhere else. Mm-hmm. I'm not on TikTok really, and then I connected my Instagram so that it goes to my Facebook. I'm not really that much on Facebook. I'm more on Instagram, and that's where most of my online activity is. And of course, all of our stuff is on Spotify and iTunes. So if you want to go and listen to any of my music, it's all on Spotify. It's all on iTunes. Right. It's all on YouTube. And here mostly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Anything else that you've got going on that you haven't had a chance to talk about yet?
We covered so much today, Chris, and we're going to do this again.
Good.
And the next time we do this, you and I will both have a lot more to talk about. So
that sounds good.
It was great for me. I mean, I had an amazing time today talking to you.
Me too. It's an honor to have you on here. You are a spectacular person. So you make incredible music. So it's been a privilege. Do you want to say goodbye in Farsi?
دوست عزیز خدافظ خیلی خیلی دوستتون دارم خیلی آهنگای جدید تو راه و مطمئنم که خوشتون میاد و خیلی 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 کارهای خوب داریم انجام میدیم به زودی و من اینو ترجمهش میکنم به زبان فارسی که شما بتونید بفهمین که چه گفتگویی داشتیم با دوستم Cristopolis و that's it. من میبینمتون به زودی. مرسی که اومدین تو لایومون امروز.
Thank you.
You want to say bye in Farsi, Chris?
How do I say bye in Farsi?
خدا حافظ.
Oh, bro, you're gonna mess me up. You're gonna have me say something. Okay, tell me one more time.
خدا حافظ. خدا حافظ. Yay! Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.